Is your clutch slipping? How do you know if your clutch isn't any good anymore? There's a few things to know to determine if your clutch is no good. There's a few ways to tell if your clutch is no good. 1, it might start to smell funny, or it just smells like something's burning. 2, when you go to accelerate, your car shoots up in RPM, but you don't actually pick up speed. Or number 3, your car might not let you get into first or reverse when you have the clutch pushed in.
Come, get in there.
Now you kind of have an idea of whether or not your clutch is good or bad. Now what do you do with that information? There's a few things we need to know on how to determine the best clutch for your vehicle. The main thing is, what application are you using it for? Are you daily driving your car? Are you daily driving and taking it to the track? Or is it strictly just a track vehicle? Knowing which application you're going to be using the clutch in the vehicle for is very important in determining what clutch you should get. Once you've determined what kind of application you'd be using your vehicle for, now you need to determine what clutch is the best for you. There's 3 different options with options along with each of those 3 that you can choose from. The most commonly used in stock vehicles or from the factory is a solid single disc clutch. Something along with that clutch is it's typically a sprung clutch. What does that mean? There are springs in the disc to allow it to absorb some of that power and make it easier to drive on the street. A sprung clutch also is typically much quieter and smoother to drive with. The next 2 options are fairly similar, one being just slightly more aggressive than the other. You have the options of a 4-putt clutch or a 6-putt clutch, depending on the abuse you are putting on the clutch. Sometimes with more power, a 4-putt clutch is better. Sometimes a 6-putt is better. Just depends on what you're using the vehicle for. If you plan on street driving your vehicle at all or the majority of its life, I would highly recommend getting a solid single disc sprung clutch. It is going to be much easier to drive on the street. You won't be blowing out your knee and just way more enjoyable on the street. If you're going to be doing any type of drifting or track driving or racing at all, typically you will want to upgrade to either a 6 or 4-putt clutch. I would still, in my personal opinion, recommend a sprung clutch. It is just that much easier to drive on the track. In certain applications, you may want an unsprung clutch for that hard, direct engagement of the clutch. It typically will create some chatter and more noise. So if you are not concerned with that, maybe an unsprung clutch is the way to go. The last option that you kind of have is a multi-disc style clutch. If you're pushing a lot of torque and a lot of horsepower, sometimes you need an upgraded clutch, such as like a 2, 3, 4 or more discs to be able to handle all of that power. With a V8 or high torque powered vehicle, you may need a 4-disc clutch system that takes a lot more power to turn that, but it is also far less likely for your clutch to slip. It's going to engage and take all that power and put it to the rear tires. In some heavy drag racing applications, you may see even 6 to 8 clutch discs in a transmission setup. For example, in a top fuel drag car, you'll see maybe 6 or 8 discs in that setup to be able to hold all of that power and put it to the rear tires. Top fuel drag cars is a pretty wild example of clutches, but it is an example where they use multiple discs to be able to hold that power. Now I won't go too far in detail with multi-disc clutch systems because I don't need that. I don't use that in this small vehicle, but some people may need that. Every vehicle's clutch is different. You need to do your research and find what's best for your car and what power level you have in your vehicle. For my Mazda Miata, I did quite a bit of research on different brands as well. When you start looking into different brands, it can be kind of intimidating. There are so many different clutch brands out there, you kind of just have to pick and choose what you think is going to be best for your vehicle. Sometimes you get lucky and find a really great clutch that works and lasts for a long time. Sometimes you may find something that's maybe not the best quality and it doesn't last as long as you would hope. I've done a lot of research for myself for my own vehicle. I ended up picking up a new clutch for this season, so we're gonna unbox that real quick and take a look. The clutch that I went with is an advanced clutch technology or ACT clutch, not to be confused with Action clutch. That is a different brand. Maybe similar clutch style, but it is different. So I already took it out of the actual shipping package, but this is what the box looks like inside of the box that you receive in the mail. Because I'm using my clutch for a drifting application and mainly just drifting, I went with a 6-puck sprung clutch. Now I don't think you can see that, but it says under kit includes not recommended for street use due to harsh engagement. In drifting, there's a lot of clutch kicking and high torque situations where you put a lot of load on your clutch, transmission, and rear end. Having a turbo Miata doesn't make a lot of torque bottom end, but there's plenty of torque and power in mid-range and up. My clutch was starting to slip a little bit towards the end of last season. I figured it was probably better to replace my clutch sooner than later so that I don't have something occur or an issue happen in the middle of the season for 2024. So we will further unbox this thing. So it comes with a sleeve over the actual box, which is very tight on here. You should be able to get this pulled off one way or the other. There we go. Lay this down. Seems like it's packaged very nicely. This comes with your clutch alignment tool. You do need this whenever you switch a clutch in a vehicle to make sure your pressure plate, your clutch splines, and your flywheel all align together. They need to be in sync with one another to do the best job they can. This clutch also comes with a pilot bearing that goes into your flywheel and the throwout bearing on the clutch arm in the transmission. We'll pull out the 6-puck ACT clutch. This thing feels pretty heavy duty. Now it's all sealed in packaging so that it doesn't have grease and debris getting on the pads. You want to keep this as clean as possible before you put it into your vehicle. So along with your clutch disc, typically you will receive a pressure plate that goes along with the disc. So for example, if I can get it unlocked, this comes with a pressure plate specially made for this disc. Maybe in some applications you could potentially swap out and mismatch your pressure plate to your clutch disc. I wouldn't recommend that. Use the pressure plate that comes with the disc. It is made for that disc. It is best you use that for that application. Now, if we take a look at this one, it does have some holes kind of drilled, not all the way through. That's because this is a balanced pressure plate. What does that mean? It means at a certain RPM, it's not gonna shake, or rather all RPMs. It should be far more smooth. Now I'm gonna leave these in the packages and sealed so they stay nice and clean, nothing gets on them, until I'm going to be putting them into the transmission on the Miata. So I'm just gonna throw this all back into the box for now so it stays nice and does not get damaged while it's in the garage out here. Now that you have some basic information on how to pick a clutch, go do some research and find yourself a clutch that's right for you and your car. Before we end out this video, drop a comment down below what kind of car you have and what kind of application do you use it for. Is it just your daily driver, a show car, drift car, or do you take it and do time attack or any type of racing like that? Drop it down below, let me know what you got. So thanks for watching today's video. I hope you learned a little bit about the clutch system and how they work. Stay tuned for the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.